Broadcasting live from the Capitol OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America. Brand new open for the show. So there we go. Me and Mick put that together. A nice new open to kind of kick things off on this Saturday, December 12th. And there's some stakes races not only across the country, racing across America, but this morning will also be a little bit racing across the world. A little bit later on, we will have another appearance. Just saw him on the Handicappers Report. But our man Brian Nadeau stuck around also when we taped that yesterday to take a look at some of the stakes action at Fairgrounds. So we'll have a little bit of that coming up later on. It's Louisiana Champions Day. So some nice stakes there. But coming up 20 minutes or so, Dick Powell will join us. And Dick, a avid watcher of international racing. And so he's going to take a look late tonight. You can catch here on the network and play as well the Hong Kong international races. Some notable names there that you will recognize. Some Breeders' Cup performance. Magical is out there. So we'll touch on those Hong Kong races with Dick. But we're going to kick things off. Our friend Ron Nicoletti from Gulfstream Park has a really nice stakes card down at Gulfstream as well. Pretty much the first big weekend of the championship meet. Claiming Crown last week was fun, but this is a weekend that will kind of play into, you would think, Pegasus weekend as well. Ron, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. How you doing?
Very good. Happy to have you on board. Before we get any further, give us a little update on what your weather looks like today.
Well, we're going to start the day with a fast main track, but the turf course is listed as we had some rain not really heavy stuff, but so we're going to start the day with the turf course listed as good, but it's supposed to be a beautiful day in the 80s today, so I'm guessing that the course will dry out in a while too, but we'll start it at good.
All right, we'll live vicariously through you because yesterday I had to go scrape my windshield when I went out, so I like here in the 80s. Also, I want to go back a couple of weeks because just want to get your thoughts. It's always sad as racing fans to see, the end of an era for a racetrack, and with the fan situation being what it is during the pandemic, you were one of the last people to watch a race at the old Calder Gulfstream Park West. What was it like the last couple of days down there of racing?
Well, there was mixed emotions. I had a lot of fun, and I worked there for almost 20 years, about 19 and a half years, when it was in its heyday. And it was sad to see, what happened in the last couple of years. But we had good racing there, but like you said, you hate to see any racetrack close. So we're going to come back stronger than ever here at Gulfstream. Rumors that we're going to have a Tapeta course along with the turf and the dirt. So we'll see if that happens. And we'll just keep plugging along, of course, here in South Florida. Yeah, I mean, the landscape for Gulfstream has really changed for the better over the past couple of years, going back maybe even a little further, whereas the summertime racing has become a lot more competitive with big names sticking around all year long. The trainers we'd all recognize who have stables down there and whatnot. And it did come out earlier this week to potentially a synthetic course down there as well to maybe give the turf course a little bit of a rest during periods of the year or whatnot. So we will see. But Gulfstream Park, as I say, over the last 2-3 years, going back maybe a little further, has really become prominent throughout the year. But there's no denying it's the time of year for the championship meet, which is the highlight. And as I say, this kicks off the first big weekend. Let's also touch on, as I look through the card, I noted the notable names on the jockey side and the trainer side as well, but on the jockey side have started to appear down there. And it looks like, once again, over the winter season, a potent jockey colony down there at Gulfstream. Yeah, we've got all the big names coming down. Johnny Velasquez will be here soon. Of course, the Ortiz brothers, Irad and Jose. We're going to have a Junior Alvarado by the first call for Bill Massey, Corey Lannery. The names just go on and on. Robbie Alvarado. So it's going to be good. As always, don't have to worry about the good jockeys down here. And like you said, they don't have to scrape their windshields up there. You got to come down here and ride in sunshine.
Yeah, and hopefully get some derby mounts and whatnot. That's always the game plan.
Exactly.
Luis Paco Lopez got off to a good start, I saw. Yeah. So it's going to be fun watching the jockey colony during the meet. All right, let's jump in and take a look at some of the graded stakes action. There's actually 5 stakes. We'll take a look at all the graded stakes, and that kicks off in race number 4 this afternoon with the Rampart Grade 3 event. And I went and kind of peeked at your picks, which I will remind people you can find Ron's selections every day at the Gulfstream Park website. Nice printable sheet, usually even a couple of days ahead, so you can check that out. But as I say, I took a little peek at your selection, so pulled up some appropriate replays. And I'm right with you in the Rampart. And we're going to go back and watch the Shoe V from Saratoga earlier this year, where Latruska took them all the way around to win the Shoe V up at Saratoga. And I'm guessing that's going to be the game plan again on the cut back to the one-turn mile. She's speed. She looks like the potent speed. Like you, I put her on top. But give us your thoughts in the Rampart.
Yeah, that was my exact reasoning in there. There was certain speed there. You don't know if you're going to get hooked by a horse like Beijing Girl, or then maybe Dream Marie, who's second behind Beijing Girl, sits a trip behind. But I was just amazed how well Petrushka has run. For Fausto Gutierrez, of course. This horse, he's the star of the guy's barn, and I just think the horse is going to run well. I think that speed is going to be good this afternoon. So that led me to Latruska.
Yeah, as I say, I'm with you. I found Latruska to potentially be the one that's going to speed pop him out of there and be the pace play to maybe take him all the way around. All right, let's turn the page and take a look at the Sugar Squirrel. I went with Golden and Me. I thought that one was interesting coming in from Woodbine for Josie Carroll. But with 2 starts, there's also a win on the resume at Gulfstream going back to March. But this one is lightly raced, untested in stakes company. So it's a little bit of a roll of the dice. You tilted toward Ladies Island, and I'm going to show it. I talked about it in the handicapping show earlier. This race, the Honorable Miss from Saratoga, Ladies Island is going to be in the lead. And I was playing a contest that day and needed her to catch a double. It would have put me in a nice money position in the contest. And she just gets caught late by the talented Come Dancing here in the Honorable Miss up at Saratoga. And so it's kind of killing me to look at this replay again. But I think off of this race, 2 back up at Saratoga. Subsequently, she had a little bit of a fade job in the TCA at Keeneland, but this race up at Saratoga was a really nice effort for owners, our friends, the Matisse brothers and Rich Averill. Ladies Island is the one you're tilting towards. Give us your thoughts on the Sugar Squirrel.
Well, she's the defending champ in the Sugar Squirrel. She's back on a favorite service. She's had 11 races here with 7 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. Put my angle early on in the mid. She's a speedy daughter of greatness, and I think she's out there, playing catch me if you can. You mentioned the 3-horse Golden Amy. I know, I put it on a ticket, but I got to watch one. Horse I thought might get a trip and you get a little bit of a price on is Sound Machine, who does that running from that stalking position, and she could end up sitting in that garden spot off the abundance of defeat in the race. Or Shaka Joseph Jr., and you get Jose Ortiz in the cello today. So things melt down when Ladies Island gets caught like she did when you needed her for big bucks. Maybe a horse like Sound Machine will get up there and get her at the wire.
Yeah, Safi Joseph trainee. Certainly always have to pay attention to him. Gets Jose Ortiz on board. And connections are so important during this meet to pay attention to. And so we should be paying attention in the beginning, see who gets off to a nice start at the meet. Harlan's Holiday, nice field, race number 9 this afternoon. Grade 3 event for 3 and up, going a mile and a 16th. Tax is in here. Math Wizard is in here. I thought Tatweed could be a little bit interesting for Todd Pletcher. Probably has to step it up. They paid $2.5 million and hasn't quite lived up to that yet, in that we've had 4 starts, 3 wins, but hasn't tried stakes company yet. That'll be the stakes debut today. But I thought that horse was interesting. You tilted towards Fat Man, and I know when we did our stakes preview in here, my colleague Mike Callahan also thought Fat Man was interesting. We're going to go back and watch, going back to January, we're going to watch the Fred Hooper. Fat Man will get it done here in the Grade 3 Fred Hooper. Again, this is back in January. Subsequently, second to Mr. Freeze in the Gulfstream Park Mile back in February. Had a comebacker at Keeneland in the Lafayette. Ran 6th in there, but probably got some fitness out of that. Your thoughts on Fat Man and the Harlan's Holiday overall?
That's exactly it. You see the Harlan's Holiday, but this horse ran exceptionally well here in the Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Mile. The Fred Hooper that we just watched in this race last year. It turns out I just think the same thing. A useful tune-up going to the 7 furlongs in the $150,000 Lafayette at Keeneland. And I just like the way this runs. And Ken Sweeney has just been winning races in bunches. If you follow hot trainers, he is certainly the one here at the opening week and a half of this meeting. So again, I'll add a cop, this Son of Money. Winner is returning to. I haven't seen him in a while. But Danny Gargan's strong with the 180-day plus layoff over 40%. And you're getting, you just think that with the Louis Saez at the top, and this horse is going to run well. And I could close it out with a little bit of a move with Eye of the Jedi for a barn that's under the radar, Steve Budo, but this is his top horse who runs well. But I'm going with Batman, and no jokes after I say that.
Very good. We will turn the page now to the Fort Lauderdale Grade 2 event on the grass at a mile and an eighth, and another fun race on the card. I looked at this race and I just saw speed. And so I took a little pop with Spooky Channel. I'm not sure if Spooky Channel is quite good enough, but I thought the race 2 back at Churchill, where the horse kind of came and closed and won, was one you can kind of in this situation with, as I say, here with horses like Halliday and some like it Hot Brown, a couple others in here that tend to show plenty of early speed, so I'm hoping things fall apart in the stretch. We're going to take a look, however, going back to July 29th, we're going to look at breaking the rules, get it done at Saratoga, again, coming from off the pace. So I'm assuming you're looking for a similar situation this afternoon, but the one that you're going to be watching in the rules, take us through your thoughts on Lauderdale.
Yeah, breaking the rules is my long shot of the day. I hope I get a good price. For this horse who won the Tropical Park Derby here last December, he returns for Shoot McGay after a start to pace fourth on the yielding, the Knickerbocker. So I just thought coming back, I just saw so much speed in there that I figured I'd go for a price. And stats I've been keeping over the last years, and you don't really see this as a stat, but Shoot McGay is one of the best first out at Gulfstream during the winter. You don't expect that. You think he'd give the horses a race. So I'm just sort of playing the angles with breaking the rules this afternoon. As you mentioned, this is one fantastic race. I mean, if you're looking for a grade 2 event, this is it. So I'm going to try and beat him with breaking the rules.
Yeah, and as I say, this the stakes data plan to that Pegasus card, and that's shaping up to be a lot of fun. Give us the thoughts, the anticipation as the championship meet did. Oh, and let me go back to last week. The Claiming Crown has been a traditional kind of opening to the meet now, and it seems like looking at handle and whatnot, and the fields as well last week, because you had a couple of horses in there that were winners that will certainly go on to be prominent in stakes company as we go forward. Now, Jesus' team in Faya looked great last weekend. Give us some reaction to last weekend's Claiming Crown.
Yeah, it was fantastic for you. I guess the star, after was Faya, the Jesus team just really had to run well. I think he'll move Frodo off that performance. But the big news, of course, in my Twitter, I don't have to pay that much attention because we don't drag anymore here. We go off at post time.
That's right. Yeah, that was very interesting. Pete Aiello kept reminding people, I do the afternoon handicapping show. I did the same thing. When it says 0, get your bet in because they're going to stick to that, which I think was a great move. And there was some comment about that this week too, as I think the fans are plugged into it as well. Yeah, so people should keep that in mind. When you're seeing the 0 at Gulfstream now, jump in. But that's as last week came along, and now this week, as I say, the first big weekend, I'm just assuming everybody down there, you have to get kind of amped up as you get into this championship meet time of year.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. And, as far as I go, our whole team is back. Acacia joined us back yesterday after her sojourn in the summer up in New York. So Acacia's back. Jason's here. So the whole team is here. We're just missing one thing, and that's we hope to get them back real soon. Yeah,
you and I were talking before we went on the air and agreed it's time for this to get over, and let's root for the vaccine to get a good rollout and work well, and hopefully sooner rather than later we're all back on track and enjoying racing the way we should. Although racing, I've been saying for really the past couple of months, really the last 6 months, I've been saying as far as sports, I think racing's done the best job. You look at the other sports, they've all gotten going, but there have been some starts and stops for some of the other professional sports. But overall, I think racing's done a great job throughout this pandemic. And I'll credit you guys as one of those 4 or 5 tracks that when this all started kind of kept going and put the template in place to have it work. And so Gulfstream's done a great job throughout the pandemic period of racing. And now that we're into the championship meet, I'm looking forward to continue over the next 3 or 4 months as this kind of hopefully winds down.
Yeah, kudos to the management here. We lost only one day of racing. But, we had to catch our bearings, and that was it. They put things in place, and it's been very, very, very safe here. You don't feel like you're being compromised at all. We have lots of rules we have to follow, and rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, racing's done a very good job. Ron, always fun to talk to you, and wanted to kick off the championship meet properly by having you come on and talk about, as I say, this first big stakes day. But certainly we will talk plenty as the meet progresses. Appreciated the conversation. And again, we will talk down the road.
Take care, guys.
Appreciate it. Ron Nicoletti from Gulfstream Park. Again, nice day coming up at Gulfstream with those 4 graded stakes. And there's also the My Charmer, a non-graded stake. As noted earlier, we will have Brian Nadeau back with us a little bit later on. We take a segment for this show when we did handicapper support. So he's going to talk some of the Fairgrounds Stakes races on Louisiana Champions Day, which is a wild stakes-laden program down there. So it's a fun day down at the Fairgrounds. But we're also going to talk to Dick Powell in just a couple of minutes about Hong Kong International. The Hong Kong International races, 4 great races that annually kind of cap off the international racing for the year, get some of the better performers from around the world to show up in Hong Kong. And it'll be here on the network. And I'm just kicks off. It's going to be late after midnight. You can obviously bet beforehand, but it'll kick off the Hong Kong Vase. Kicks off our time at about 1 a.m. So, and it's one of those things that you want to play, and then you can watch the replays tomorrow if you don't want to stay up late. But again, there are some notable names in there. Some horses that were in the Breeders' Cup a few weeks ago, Magical being probably the prominent one. But Dick Powell being a guy who follows international racing, I thought we'd reach out to him and get some ideas on the Hong Kong International races. That's coming up in just a moment. Do want to remind you that today here at the Clubhouse Racebook, we're running the Bankroll Promotion. I will have $300 to play on behalf of 20 lucky patrons. Come on down between 11 and 2 and put your name in the hat to potentially be chosen. 20 folks will be chosen at 2 o'clock. I'll start playing at about 12:30, go to 4:30. Hopefully juice that $300 up to much, much more. And at the end of the day, the 20 folks split up whatever we have in the bankroll. So as I say, hopefully we've knocked it out of the park. That's the game plan. We'll see how it works this afternoon right here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, why don't we head to a break? And when we come back, as noted, we will be joined by Dick Powell and talk a little Hong Kong International right after this. Stay tuned.
Where's the best place to find your favorite teams, your favorite food, daily drink specials, and wagering on live horse racing? Legends Field Sports Bar, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Get your game on day or night with 75 flat-screen TVs, tournament-style pool tables, a private banquet room, and live horse racing. So if someone asks you, where's the best sports bar in the capital region? Tell them Legends Field Sports Bar, inside the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Birdstone is an outside threat. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. It's in front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish to the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish. Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. As noted before the break,
Tonight after midnight, we will have the Hong Kong international races here on the network. You can also bet via capitalotbbet.com. And I thought we'd reach out to our friend Dick Powell, who follows international racing, and will clearly have some opinions on the Hong Kong races. Dick?
Seth, how are you today?
Very good. Happy to have you on board, talking a little bit about what, as I said, I think is annually the exclamation point on international racing around the world.
Yeah, the place on the calendar, it's December, but it's far enough off the European season, far enough off the Breeders' Cup to still get horses that are in form, and especially those whose trainers are looking to find firm ground, because Hong Kong, no matter what, is almost always good to firm. So they get the firm ground, they get a nice spacious track to race over, wide turns, long stretch, so kind of meets all their needs. And it's the locals against the internationals tonight, and locals look pretty good this year.
Yeah, and as I was going through and looking to pull up replays, I think I wound up with mostly internationals, but you're right, the locals, and you know, you always have a little bit of an advantage with some familiarity with the track, but we will see as we go through what your thoughts are, and let's kick it off. The fourth race, as I said earlier, the action, our time, will kick off at about 1 a.m. They're ahead, so it's going to be Sunday afternoon in Hong Kong, but about 1 o'clock in the morning for us tonight. And it's the Hong Kong Vase, 1.5 miles. I pulled up as a replay Mogul, and I'm going back to the Prix de Paris or the Prix de Paris. I'm not sure what the proper pronunciation is, but at Longchamp back in September. You'll look for the Tabor Magner Blue and the blue and orange striped cap. When we pick it up, Mogul will be sitting about 7th on the fence on the inside. And then, boy, when he starts to make his move, you see him kind of in the back of the pack there on the inside. When he starts to make his move, and you can see him now coming up and making that move to get up and take the lead, and just looks great when he starts to make that move. Subsequently wound up running 5th as the second choice at 4-1 in the Breeders' Cup Turf. But boy, off of this race, I thought Mogul looked pretty good for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore tonight. What are your thoughts on the Hong Kong Vase?
Well, he was very good, and in fact, he was going to run in the Arc, and then Aidan had to scratch all of his horses,
right,
where they discovered before the race that the horses had feed that had been contaminated. So he did not race in the Arc. They brought him to the Breeders' Cup. He didn't get the greatest trip in the Breeders' Cup. The winner went wide and had the clear run through the lane. He was kind of in traffic for part of the race, so I can excuse that. I think he'll be very tough, but I'm going with the local. I'm going with number 1, Exultant, Tony Cruz, Zach Purton. Just loves this track. He has 11 wins here with Sha Tin, and loves the distance. Just missed winning it last year when he led most of the way. I don't expect him to be on the lead unless it's a dawdling pace, but I think Zach can just get him into a nice rhythm. And I think he's come back this year with 2 seconds behind Furore. But I kind of excuse those races because he was carrying top weight, and they just look like prep races for this. So I'm going to go Exultant, number 1 on top, and then I'll use Magical, number 7 underneath.
There you go. Mogul underneath.
Yes, I constantly get her mixed up. Yes, thank you.
Because we got her coming up a little bit later on. Race number 5, about 1:40 a.m. tonight. And as I said to people, you can bet it early and then watch replays tomorrow if you don't want to stay up late. And boy, nice full field in here. Hong Kong Sprint, 6 furlongs on the turf, as the name would indicate. As I looked at this race, first I was going to pull up a replay from Dan and Smash, the Japanese horse, who I think is going to be very interesting, potentially at a price. But eventually I had to go with Classic Legend. And I'm going to pull up the race a couple back. I say race a couple back. Had a barrier trial here in Hong Kong, but the race back on October 17th at Randwick. The jockey's going to be in white silks, and at about the 200-meter mark, just kind of storms by the leaders. And another thing, it's Classic Legend from Australia, and it just seems like over the past, 5 or 10 years, boy, Australian turf sprinters have just been phenomenal. So I kind of tilted in that direction, the number 1 horse, Classique Legend. But what are your thoughts in the Hong Kong Sprint?
Well, I'm going against him, and part of it is he drew the rail in a 14-runner field. Now that's just going to be tough, because if Vincent uses him early, he's wasting precious energy. If he doesn't, he runs the risk of getting shuffled back into a lot of traffic. Now, these sprints will have demanding paces. The gate opens and they go. So at best, maybe work out a mid-pack trip and then get some clearance. He obviously has talent. He's going to stay with Casper Founds throughout the Hong Kong season, so this isn't a one and done for him. He's going to be stable at Hong Kong, which meant a longer quarantine for him. So Founds has been kind of pouring cold water on his chances. His barrier trial was okay. It wasn't great, and I'm just going negative on him. Now, you mentioned you can bet the races early. You can also check the actual odds as we speak. Right, that 24 hours before the first race on the Hong Kong site, you can go to horse racing information, local, current odds. Let me pull them up. I'll go to race number 5. And I know Hot King Prawn is the favorite because I checked it a little while ago. And there's actually $1 million already in the pool. Now, tonight they will bet about $200 million US on the 10 races. But there's already a significant amount of money in the pool. So Hot King Prawn is the favorite right now, 5-2. Classique Legend is 4-1. So if you like Classique Legend, you're getting a decent price. The other one who's a sick out but drew equally bad is Bannon Smash. He drew post 14. Now this is a right-hand turn race, so he's going to start on the far outside. He's never going to get to the rail. He's never going to be able to save any amount of ground. Now, you do see horses in Hong Kong regularly laying down the middle of the track, but it's a matter of how much ground he's going to lose until he gets to that point. All that said, I'm going to go with an upset here. Number 7, Wishful Thinker. 2 back, his race was just spectacular. Went 107 and change. If you notice, he drops back early, but he breaks okay. He's not like Rattan, who can't get out of the gate. He drops back early, comes with the big run. Last time out, he seemed to pay for that race 2 back, so I can excuse that. And I looked at him for tonight. Right now, he's 7-1 in the show pool. Now, they play win and show, so they pay 3 places down. So all I need him is to run first, second, or third to get 7-1 odds to get a 14 this year. If he wins 6-1, that'd be great. But I'm going to play a win show on number 7, Wishful Thinker, and then the local favorite, number 2, Hot King Prawn, is just a spectacular sprinter over there. He's 6 years old. He's still firing bullets for John Size and Joe Marrero. So I'll go 7-2 in the Hong Kong Sprint.
Very good. And you kind of alluded, and I would just reiterate, if you want to find that, type into Google Hong Kong Jockey Club, and you can pull up, guys have pulled up the website there. Very good. So they're showing it on the screen, but Hong Kong Jockey Club. And there's an English portion to that, so you'll be able to read it. And, you talked about, you can see the odds for the show pool and whatnot. I've been saying for years, you go to that Hong Kong Jockey Club website and you just scratch your head and think, why can't we get information like this in America? Yeah. They do a great job.
Well, and begging, how come we can't be like this country? How could it be like this country? Usually in medication, but Hong Kong delivering all this information to their bettors, and gee, guess what? They bet a lot of money. There might be a little correlation between the two.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. And like I say, I would advise people to just type into the Google tonight, Hong Kong Jockey Club, and you can pull up the website and kind of go through and see all that information. Again, there's an English portion to the site, so you won't have any problems. All right, let's move on to race number 7. Tonight goes off about 2:50 a.m. It's the Hong Kong Mile on the turf at obviously a mile. I pulled up as a replay Golden 60. We're going to go back to the Jockey Club Mile, which was only 3 weeks ago. So, a fairly quick little turnaround here. Golden 60 is going to be, as we pick it up, sitting about 4 from the rail. As they go past the 300-meter mark, you'll see the 300 meters superimposed over the turf, and he's sitting about 4 from the rail as they go past that mark. You see him right there, sitting about 4 from the rail, yellow cap, and makes the move to get it done. Again, just about 3 weeks ago. So Golden 60 to me looked intriguing off of that. 14 wins, 14 starts, 13 wins. So he is obviously going to take the attention. But where are you going in the mile?
Well, he is the local darling. He is odds on right now. If he wins, he's going to pay $2.40, which means everyone else is a huge overlay. And I'm going to go back to Aidan O'Brien with Order of Australia. He won from post 14 in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Looked great doing it. It's not like he just got lucky towards the end and picked up the pieces. He was stalking wide, which he'll probably get the same trip tonight because he drew. Where did he draw this time? Quick check. Yeah, he drew inside, which is even better. So at least they can save some ground, pull out, see what they can do with Pierre Charles Boudreau. And right now he's 21-1. So I get a Breeders' Cup Mile win going a mile at Hong Kong. Now, Golden 60 has been a phenomenal story. He's by Medaglia d'Oro because we forget that Medaglia d'Oro did stand in Australia for 4 or 5 years. So he was bred when he was down there. He won the Hong Kong 4-year-old series last year, won the Derby, won the Cup, won the mile. It just has push button acceleration. Just, basically Vincent Ho just sits on him, and then when he needs him to go, he goes. That last race that you just showed, Seth, he went 21.89 last quarter. And as you can see, he didn't have to do it. He wasn't all out to do it. So he has this just brilliant acceleration. Now, can he accelerate with maybe a little bit better company horse, an Order of Australia, things like that? I think he can, but I think value-wise, I'll go with the 21-1 shot over the odds-on horse every day. So I'll go number 10, Order of Australia, number 2, Golden 60.
And as I said when I was kind of promoting you were coming on, I said that the races tonight will have some of those Breeders' Cup runners showing up as well. Order of Australia is certainly a notable one for anybody who is playing around. I know there were people out there who did, in those turf races, just kind of box up the Europeans and whatnot. And so congratulations to anybody who jumped on Order of Australia in the Breeders' Cup and wound up with a nice price in there. I'll also toss out a couple of things. I have linked over on Equidaily a link to free PPs provided by the Daily Racing Forum. So if you want to pull up free PPs to these Hong Kong races, go to Equidaily. Or if you're a Capital OTB Bet account holder, obviously there are free PPs available via that as well. But you've kind of mentioned it already, Dick, but I will remind people this is a little bit different. This is quite a bit different than us. The post position and the horse betting number are not necessarily the same over there in Asia. So just make sure you're aware of that as you handicap and bet. It's clear in the past performances. You see the big number 1, for example, in this race leaves from post position 3. So it's clear when you read the post position, when you read the past performances, but just do be aware as you're handicapping, the horse number is not necessarily corresponding to the post position tonight. All right, let's move on to race number 8, the Hong Kong Cup, highlighting the action on late Saturday night or early Sunday morning, I guess, here, Sunday afternoon in Hong Kong. And this one is notable, of course, because Magical, the phenomenal race mayor, shows up in here for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. I'm going to go back and just watch the Breeders' Cup, and she will be number 2 in here, running second to Tarnawa, the number 3 in the Breeders' Cup Turf a few weeks back. And again, with these connections and her resume, she will certainly take a lot of attention. But what are your thoughts in the Cup?
Well, I went Magical on top. I'm a little worried when you watch that replay. Tarnawa was just brilliant, and I loved Tarnawa that day.
I did too.
I needed Magical for second, and it looked like she was going to be an easy second. And then right at the wire, she kind of, I don't know if she lost focus or got tired, but she barely went by English Channel. A channel maker, excuse me, for Bill Mott. And so that kind of worries me a little bit. 5-year-old, long career, long season, but she's been brilliant all year. Her win over Guyette in the Irish Champion Stakes, going 1.25 miles when she beat the ARC winner Satsas very handily. She's had a phenomenal career. This would be her 8th Group 1 stakes win if she's able to pull it off, and I think she can. Now, right now, she is the betting choice at about 7-2. I'd say around 3-1. She's going to pay around $7 over in Hong Kong. The second choice is Shirora, who beat Exultan the last 2 starts. The Japanese horse Windbright is 7-1. The other Japanese horse, Dannon Premium, is also 7-1. I use Scaletti, the French horse, underneath Magical. He's a world traveler, kind of been all over the place. He has a really good win over Satsas earlier in the year. He's been handling mostly soft and heavier ground, and today he's gonna get the firm ground, which he looks like he's okay over. He does have a win on good ground on his card, so I think at a price maybe, and you know, when you see Pierre Charles Boudreau, that's a big plus. You might not be familiar with him. You don't need to be. Just remember, big plus. You saw that in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah,
he gets the mount tonight, so I like Scaletti for second, and but I do think Magical can end her career with a Group 1 win tonight.
Yeah, if people were paying attention, Boudreau kind of maybe made a name for himself a little bit a few weeks ago over here at Keeneland and the Breeders' Cup. Speaking of Breeders' Cup, we haven't talked to you in a while, Dick. I'm just wondering, you know, summer, fall racing, and really the last few weeks as well. I'm wondering if anything stood out. Last week, True Timber takes the Grade 1 Cigar Mile, and it was nice that Kendrick Carmouche got his first Grade 1. Brooklyn Strong, I thought was interesting and just a fun story. They paid $5,000 for the horse and put the Remsen on the resume, so that was nice. You go back, Essential Quality, a 2-year-old. That'll be worth watching, obviously, going forward. Any thoughts on the 2-year-olds, or as I say, going back the last couple of months?
Well, I really like the Central Quality. The 2-year-old races a week or 2 ago at Aqueduct, they're hard to gauge because so many of those winners just kind of disappear.
Yeah,
they win the Demoiselle, and then they just don't go on. So we'll have to see now. The Shadwell horse was very good. It looked like she hated the track and still was able to persevere and pick up the bit and win going away. So, but I don't know what she'll do under similar conditions. And, you know, in other words, she gets a fast dry track. She'd do the same, but she's a Curlin, so she has every route to get better, not only with added distance, but with maturity. So, but Essential Quality really looks like a legitimate 2-year-old for Godolphin. And last year they had a legitimate 2-year-old with Maxfield. He looked like he was going to be a big horse here. It didn't work out. Maybe this is the year Godolphin can, I guess it's the only trophy that's not in Sheikh Mohammed's trophy case. It's the Kentucky Derby. So we'll see if he can do it, but obviously a long way between now and then.
And I'll ask you, because you has been involved in the racing game in various aspects for a while, and I mentioned it to Ron Nicoletti earlier as they kick off their championship meet over the past week and a half or so, and I've said it now for the last few months. I think racing's done a pretty good job during this pandemic period, really, as you compare it to other pro sports, which I think have had a few more starts and stops overall. And logistically, that probably just plays into how the games are a little bit different. But boy, you look at the handles at some of the tracks over the past few months and whatnot. I think racing's done a pretty good job in a tough period.
Well, I think they've done an excellent job. And luckily for racing, that the betting component has become mostly the only way you generate real revenue out of racing. So, for instance, you look at Hong Kong. Hong Kong not only had the COVID, but they had the social unrest last year where they had to keep the track limited, and yet betting went up last year because they have a state-of-the-art system for people to make their bets online, phone, any number of things, fabulous website, everything else. Well, now here comes American racing. They get the interruption. Now they reopen, and we have all the ADWs, including Capital OTB, all ready to take bets. And so that infrastructure, thank God, was already in place and is able to sustain racing to the point where it has hurt. I don't know how long you can do just online. You kind of need people to go to the track and get new people to go to the track, become fans, things like that. But the infrastructure was there. It's worked extremely well, and naturally now you're starting to hear complaints about the ADWs and they don't pay enough and stuff like that. It's like, come on, can you people ever be happy?
Well, yeah, that is clearly the mantra of horse players. There's always, no matter if you win, you wish you bet more, and so there's always. It's just ingrained in a lot of folks, and social media has certainly exacerbated that, unfortunately. But Dick, appreciate the conversation. Always fun to talk, and wanted to get your insights again on what I think is, as I say, the exclamation point to the end of the international racing year every year down in Hong Kong. And there's some notable names in there, so I wanted to touch on that as well. So once again, Dick, appreciate the conversation. We'll talk again.
Okay, so thanks. Have a good weekend.
Appreciate it, Dick Powell. And again, the Hong Kong international races, those 4 stakes races kick off in race number 4 tonight at about 1 a.m. our time. And as I say, you go to Equidaily up towards the top of the page. I have a link to free PPs at the DRF. You can pull up that Hong Kong Jockey Club website, type that into Google. There's a nice English portion that you get a lot of information from. Free PPs, obviously, via capitalotbbet.com. If you're a member, you can pull up free PPs day of every track we have, including the Hong Kong races. So keep that in mind. Before we go to the break, and after the break, we will have Brian Nadeau talking some of the Fairground Stakes races for today. But I just wanted to say adieu to our good buddy Tim Wilkin, who certainly we've had a lot of a relationship with here at Capital OTB this summertime. Tim in the Times Union handicaps, and we have the OTB versus Times Unions handicappers. We've had that for years. But Tim announced on Twitter yesterday he took a buyout, and so I think he said 35 years at the Times Union. So Tim, enjoy the time off. But the good news, I tweeted back that when I read the first sentence, I panicked. But by the third sentence of Tim's tweet, I had relaxed, because he said he will still be covering horse racing. And I relaxed because I can't imagine the Saratoga press box without Tim Wilkin up there. So that's the good news for horse racing fans. Tim will still be covering racing for the Times Union, but again, otherwise stepping away in about a week or so. I think he said he wraps it up. But again, Tim, good luck on future endeavors, as it were, or just future time off. As it is. All right, we'll go to a break. When we come back, Brian Nadeau will join us. And again, he's based down at Fairgrounds this winter, our colleague from the summertime here on Capital OTB TV and more, obviously with the Handicappers Report. But we'll let him take a look at some of those Fairground Stakes races on a stakes-laden card on Louisiana Champions Day today at Fairgrounds. So we'll take a break. When we come back, Brian Nadeau. Having trouble finding us? It's actually quite simple. Whether online or on your TV, it's never been easier to watch and wager on championship horse racing with Capital OTB. Simply log on to capitalotbbet.com. There you can watch our morning shows, live stream races, and wager on our state-of-the-art wagering platform. You can also watch from the comfort of your home on Spectrum Cable Channel 1250 or Fios Channel 467, and win more with Capital OTB.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play. In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
As promised earlier on the Handicappers Report, Brian Nadeau joins us here on Racing Across America. If you've been watching Fairgrounds at all over the first couple of weeks of the meet. You've had a chance to see our colleague Brian down in the paddock doing some paddock commentary. Well, he will be during this winter into early spring season down at Fairgrounds. And so I thought we would continue with a little conversation here on Racing Across America about Fairgrounds Day with Brian, because it is a stakes-laden card, Louisiana Champions Day down at the Fairgrounds. Brian, welcome back.
Yeah, Seth, thank you. Exciting. It's the first of what's about 5 big major Saturdays here at Fairgrounds, and certainly, obviously, that ends with the Louisiana Derby in late March. But this is an exciting one for the state breds, and I think I mentioned it to you. I've mentioned it to several people down here. I've been pleasantly surprised at how good the state bred races have been, especially the 2-year-old maiden races early on in the meet. And then you look at this card on Saturday, 10 stakes, over $1 million, 3 graded stakes for the quarter horses as well, but 7 stakes for the thoroughbreds, culminating with the $150,000 classic. And it's a really exciting card. It's a card set that I think you and the folks back home and all across the country will be familiar with some of the horses, some of the connections, certainly. And I really think the betting opportunities on this card are exciting as well, and some big pools that we're looking forward to. So, it should be a fun day here. Hopefully the weather pans out. There's a small chance of rain. It might be more into Sunday. So hopefully that pans out, because we've got some great turf racing too on the Stall Wilson turf course down here. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, Seth. It's a fun day for the locals, but on the national scene as well.
Yeah, and I was going to mention it. Louisiana, we in New York, we know the 3 venues, Aqueduct, Belmont. I think all of them have at least a couple of days that focus on the New York breds and Empire Showcase Day and whatnot. But Louisiana does a great job with the Louisiana breds too. The various venues down there all have big days like this that focus on the Louisiana breds. It's a nice state bred program down there. I know some of the major partnerships have jumped in and gotten Louisiana breds, and I think they see that days like this make it worthwhile to do that. So we'll talk a little bit about some stakes coming up this afternoon. Before we do that, 2 weeks into the meet, and I pulled up a little bit earlier, Equibase, just taking a look early on at jockeys and trainers. James Graham currently on the jockey side on top, Mitchell Murrell second, Kobe Hernandez, Sean Bridgman, Adam Beschizza. The top 5 currently, Ricardo Santana down in the mix a little bit, Flojo, Florent Giroux. On the trainer side, some of the, names you would expect. Stidham currently on top, but Steve Asmussen, Brad Cox, Tommy Amos is up there. Again, some notable names. Any in your travels around doing the notes, any names that we should be watching in particular as far as trainers and jockeys?
You just rattled off Beschizza like you've said it 1,000 times. You know how many different? I've never said it the same twice, Seth. So I golf clap to you on that. It is a tough one. You named everyone really. James Graham won this title last year, basically the last day. He won by 1. Colby Hernandez is right there. You mentioned Flo, who came back with a bang and it got here late. Saw Doug Bradar the other day, his jockey agent. So it's going to be a fun winter. It's kind of like the gang's all here. And on the trainer side, Mike Stidham is Mike can't win the trainer's title because he simply doesn't have the amount the head that a lot of the others do. But he's here loaded for bear with some real horses and Godolphin and some of the others, and he's off to a hot start. He's unleashed a couple nice ones, a couple firsters, like Godolphin, Proxy, second time out that you'll hear from this winter. So Mike's got a lot of good stock. The Asmussen runners are here before they kind of split off to Oaklawn. Brad, as you mentioned. It's a pretty deep and competitive trainers colony and jockeys colony. And I think you're going to, no pun intended, you're going to see a lot of jockeying throughout the meet, Seth, with on both sides, because there's so much competition here and everybody rides a lot of races. And you're going to see it basically all the way through the end of the meet. It happened last year. Brad was only 1 win. Brad was tied with Ron Fauché entering the last week, and then kind of pulled clear a little bit. He had 40 and Fauché had 34. But, you mentioned Tom Amos had a couple the other day. He's going to be right there. Brett Calhoun is down here. You're going to see a lot of names that people are very familiar with on the national scene that are going to kind of trade blows throughout the winter. It's a very deep and competitive trainer and jockey colony down here with good horses too, that you're going to see here and throughout the country that will shuttle out from here too. So it's going to be an exciting weekend or winter.
We mentioned earlier on the handicappers report, you were talking about some of the horses that will be on the backstretch. Essential Quality, Monomoy Girl, Nashville, currently down there. And as you say, headed out to the Malibu out in Southern California. And we talked a little bit also earlier, just a great 3-year-old trail down there in Louisiana, down there at Fairgrounds in the wintertime, both the boys and the girls leading into the Oaks and the Derby. So we'll certainly be checking in plenty during the winter and kind of catching up on that. But on Saturday, the focus is on the state breds, Louisiana breds in Louisiana Champions Day. Let's take a look at kind of the kickoff races to a late pick 5 that kicks off in race number 9 with the Louisiana Sprint. This is a fun field in here, and there are a couple of different ways you can go. Birdie's Galaxy certainly has plenty of early speed coming in from a Louisiana stakes race over at Louisiana Downs last time where the horse just missed, but does get the rail post position, which it's always tough to get your best out of that spot. There are a couple of other directions you can go. Race number 9 on Saturday afternoon, Louisiana Sprint. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Birdie's Galaxy because you've got the defending champion in here, Laughing Saint Song, and she's drawn outside, takes 2 to Tango, and that looks like how this race is going to play out. I mean, there's going to be a couple of them tangoing on the front end, and it's the 3 takes 2 to Tango in the defending champion, Laughing Saint Song. And I know that, she pressed and won last year, but takes 2 to Tango is really, really good. And she's not going to wilt. And I just kind of feel if Erica Murray can get Birdie's Galaxy to settle just a little bit, and she'll have to send her away from there, from the rail. But she's got a stalking gear. And you look at, as you mentioned, the race last time, I thought was a real step up. And I thought she ran well. I know she gave up a 2-length late lead. But I don't think she's going to be dueling on the lead here. And I think it's going to put him in a really good spot. Off takes 2 to Tango and Laughing Saint Song. And I like Birdie's Galaxy at a little bit of a price, 4 for 7 over the track as well. So, you're going to see a lot of these horses with an affinity for this Fairgrounds track and turf course. Birdie's Galaxy is one of them. And I'm going to put him on top for a little bit of a surprise over Laughing Saint Song. Takes 2 to Tango. A lot of respect for this one, lightly raced and on the improve. I just wonder if, as the inside speed, it's going to be tough. Monty Man, if it falls apart, is interesting for Fauché, who's off to a slow start at the meet. But Monty Man is 5 for 8 over the track, and he'll be rolling late as well, Seth. So it's a good race to kick off this, as you mentioned, late pick 5.
Speaking of good races, it's that time of year where it's fun to watch the 2-year-olds because we're about to turn the calendar to these becoming 3-year-olds. And you have some horses in here who have the open company type of potential because they faced open company already. At race number 10, it is the Louisiana Juvenile. Choo Choo's Legacy has already done the stakes victory against Louisiana bred, so obviously we'll attract some attention there. But No Pedigree coming in for Redham Racing from Southern California is very interesting. Sir Wellington has taken on open stakes company already, ran 5th in the Nyquist at Keeneland, but did well against open company at Delaware and Laurel. And Cohere, interesting off the career debut just a few weeks ago down at Fairgrounds, November 28th, early in the meet, got a nice win in the career debut. So that one's intriguing to me. This is a fun race. The Louisiana Juvenile, your thoughts there?
Yeah, it is, Seth. And, I wrote the preview for this one, and Joe K did a few of the others. We split them up. And, my lead was No Pedigree and Sir Wellington because they're the open company runners. And I've got to mention, if you're not, if you haven't been paying attention, everyone out there, these Kentucky 2-year-olds that have come into Fairgrounds and have gotten to add Lasix are just really, really improving. No surprise there. And Sir Wellington is one of those for Hugh Robertson and Mac Robertson, the father-son team. And this one's got a stalking gear as well. And I think that's going to play out here because there's a lot of speed in here. And Sir Wellington really acquitted himself nicely in a pair of open company races at Laurel and at Keeneland, the Nyquist last time. I think he's going to be trouble. But then you've got the California Speed and Go pedigree, and he has Lasix too with Beschizza, and Brandon Walsh will take over for Doug O'Neill. As you mentioned, Redham Racing. Speakeasy on debut. He ran a very fine fifth to the filly Mariampoli for WW, Wesley Ward. Dueled on the lead last time against Open Maidens. No pedigree certainly hits hard in here. You know, Seth, if those two guys weren't in here, Choo Choo's Legacy would be a standout in here, and you're probably going to get 5-1 on him now with two easy state-bred stakes wins in his last two starts. 3 for 4 lifetime for Alan Landry, has never done anything wrong, a second on debut. I mean, he's a huge threat, and if you're just not into the two favorites, you might get $11 on a 2-time state-bred stakes winner. So very, very playable. Ebony Flash, I think, is interesting at a big number off the debut close at Delta Downs. It's a good race for the level co here, as you mentioned, with a big figure on debut right here on the 28th over the track at a big number. He'll be a price. Aubrey Green's riding well at the meet. So, yeah, that's a fun race with a lot of different ways to go. I don't know where 50 Protection is going to go, Seth. This is for the Delhomme boys. Brother Jeff, Jake, the owner, Jake football quarterback, Jake Delhomme. I met him the other day. A really, really fun, nice guy. I had a big note on 50 Protection. He's also entered in the finale. Just watch where he runs, and regardless, move him up a little bit. I thought he ran really, really well on debut to a good-looking winner, and I'm going to fool around with him at a price regardless of what spot he runs in on Saturday.
Very good. Yeah, for Set Hut Racing. Got a little and I'll go back to Sir Wellington for just a second. The second place finish two-back was the Jackson Traveler. Nice runner for our friends at West Point, and that one won a juvenile stakes race at Maryland last weekend, 2 weekends ago. So that maybe flatters Sir Wellington a little bit as well.
Well, you set me up nicely, because before we move on, I want to mention we're not going to talk about this race, but our friends at West Point have Room to Finish, who's the morning line favorite in the Champions Day Ladies Sprint, which is race 8, and she's got a huge shot as well. So keep her in mind. 5-2 on the morning line. Room to Finish in race 8 is a major player too. So, you know, we talked about it at the start. These national connections have really supported the state-bred product here.
Yeah, it's, as I say, there are a lot of big days down there for these Louisiana breds, and that has attracted attention. The 11th race is the Louisiana Turf. It's about 1 1/16 on the grass. Nice full field in here with an also full field of 11 with an also eligible as well. But I think Tom Morley's horse probably takes the attention, 91 Assault. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I've seen Tom Morley several times down here. So he's here for the winter. He ran that nice filly Zanzique the other day in the Panzeretta here. She didn't really get a trip in a race, and the speed didn't come back. But, yeah, 91 Assault just settled and zoomed past to win this race last year. 6 for 9 over the Fairgrounds Turf, and it's a style he's going to try to do again. Clearly he's the class of this race. You look at his last 3 races, the Oceanport, the race at Laurel, and our Artie Schiller at Aqueduct. I mean, he's just been running against much better. His last 2 state-bred stakes runs have been wins here at Fairgrounds. He's going to take a lot of beating, and he should get some pace to run into. So, yeah, he'll be tough. Boudreaux talking down inside for Keith Austin. He doesn't start a lot of horses, but he's 4 for 7 on the year. Florent Giroux lands here. He claimed this one from Carl Broberg 2-back, and he's won both times at Louisiana Downs, a state-bred stakes last time. He'll save all the ground. He might even get first run with Flo aboard, because I think Flo will put him in the race early. I'm pretty interested in Boudreaux talking at what'll be a better price too. Other than that, Shangi fits for Mitchell Merle and Gene Dolan. In the class drop, we saw him in the Red Smith last time at Aqueduct, the grade 3. He was in the Monmouth 2-back. But I think you can probably, Seth, if you're playing this late pick 5, if you're on a budget, you could single 91 Assault. But I think if you throw Boudreaux Talking in there, I think you'll get through this race by using those two. And that's kind of how I'll play it. I'm going to call it 2-9, but clearly Tom Morley and 91 Assault is the horse to beat.
And I've just pulled, I looked at Keith Austin. I just pulled up his stats because he's a guy I'm unfamiliar with. His first start of the year was July 11th. And because I looked and he's 0 for 2 so far at this meet, but he's 4 for 7 overall. And yeah, so what that means is at the Louisiana Downs, a couple of July starts, couple of August starts, a start in September. He was 4 for 5 over at Louisiana Downs.
Yeah, I met him the other day in the paddock. He's a younger guy. He was a real nice guy. Came right up and said hi to me, and we shook hands and we'll fist pump. Not allowed to shake hands, of course. Come on. We fist pumped, and he was a really, really nice, personable guy. And he's, I don't pretend to know a lot about him, but he seems to, when you're 4 for 5, clearly you spot your stock well, and it looks like he's got a very live runner in here. And I've got to say, when you claim a horse off Carl Broberg and you A, maintain their form, or B, move their form up, you're doing pretty good. That's for sure. So I think this horse is very live in here. And the fact that 91 Assault will rightfully take all the betting says you're going to get, 3-1, 4-1 on Boudreaux Talking. And I'll take a swing at that price.
Yeah, Keith Austin, just maybe a guy to keep our eyes on going forward. The 12th race is the highlight of the day, the Louisiana Classic, 3-year-olds and up, $150,000 up for grabs, 9 furlongs the trip. Shang certainly looks like the one to beat in here for Steve Asmussen and the Hillebrats. Your thoughts in the Classic?
Yeah, I mean, the race clearly goes through him. He's legitimately 7, 6, 5, 8 to 5 in here. He's 4 for 5 over the track. He's got speed. He's got tactical speed. He's got staying power. There's a lot to like with him, and he's also acquitted himself nicely in open waters. So sure, he's going to take all the beating in here. I'm gonna talk about Sidster. I don't know if Sidster's good enough, but he lands Giroux, and I'm wondering, maybe I'm just getting a little too funky here. But if Flo sends this horse, there's not a lot of speed in this race. Now, Shang is going to be involved from the outside throughout, okay? So he's not going to let Sidster get loose. But I don't know if there's anybody better that reading the racing form than Florent Giroux. And he likes to take the initiative anyway. And I'm just wondering if he's going to get clever on Sidster, if he's going to send him, and maybe he gets brave. Now, hasn't run good enough to beat a horse like Shang just yet. But maybe he gets brave. Maybe no one else goes. Maybe Santana and Shang says, you know what? I'm even money in this field. I'll let this horse go. He's going to come back to me. I'll reel him in. And maybe Sidster gets brave and gets loose. And I'm going to take a shot with him on top. The other thing about Shang is, you look at him, Seth, and his 2 biggest numbers were on sealed off tracks. And I don't think he's going to get that Saturday. And then if you draw a line through those races, and I'm talking about the Wet Fast race at Oaklawn, and I'm talking about the race here at Fairgrounds in January, he's a little more, he's not as imposing as he is without those 2 races. And he's a little more down to earth. So certainly he's the horse to beat. He also hasn't been out since July, Seth. So, I'm not saying there were a lot of spots for him over the summer, and the fact that he's here bodes well for him. But just maybe there's a little bit of a recency edge on Sidster, and maybe that helps too. Aside from that, aside from Shang, under pressure, I think he's the most logical exacta partner to Shang. But he hasn't been out since March, and he's up against it in terms of the race flow here. He doesn't have any early speed. So I'm going to try to get him out of a chalky exacta, and I'm going to box Sidster and Shang, which I think will offer a lot more value than simply Shang over under pressure at like $11. That's how I see it. I'm going to try to speed pop this field with Sidster and Shang.
I like it. All right. Brian, appreciate the thoughts on the stakes action today down at the Fairgrounds, Louisiana Champions Day. Again, a stakes-laden card. It's going to be a lot of fun. for everybody, and we appreciate your thoughts. As I say, we will certainly continue to check in throughout the season on the fairgrounds action, as well as having you jump in on the handicappers report on the weekends as well. But appreciate the visit.
Yeah, Seth, you too. It's a fun weekend, not only here, but Gulfstream, and like we said, Aqueduct with a good card too. So best of luck to you, to everyone back home. Stay warm, safe, and healthy, and we'll catch up again next week.
All right, we'll be back with more Racing Across America after this. Thanks to Brian Nadeau for jumping in and talking a little bit about the Fairground Stakes today. Dick Powell for looking at the Hong Kong International races. Again, those happen after midnight tonight, but you can bet early, watch replays tomorrow. Should be fun racing with, again, notable names like Mogul and Magical in there, and Order of Australia. Some horses we remember from the Breeders' Cup just a few weeks ago. And as they say, free PPs available, capitalotbbet.com. You can pull up free Ps with your account there, or have free PPs linked over also Hong Kong races at Ecuador if you want to swing by. And thanks, top of the show, Ron Nicoletti, great stakes card at Gulfstream today too. Over at Aqueduct, it's the Alex Robb and a quick turnaround for Mr. Buff this afternoon in the stakes action at Aqueduct. It'll be interesting to see what he does after running in the Cigar Mile last week. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Do want to remind you, Clubhouse Racebook this afternoon, we have a bankroll promotion. I'll have $300 to play on behalf of 20 random elected folks. You can get your chance to be on the team by showing up between 11 and 2. Put your hat. We'll select the team of 20 at 2 o'clock. I'll start playing about 12:30, go to about 4 or 5, and at the end of the day, any money I have made will be split up amongst the team members. So hopefully I knock it out of the park. Come on down and join us. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, they're already underway with pregame show at Naira. Andy Serling and Anthony Stabile. So I'll wrap it up for Racing Across America. We'll have some live cut-ins from the front half of the Racebook a little bit later on today with the OTB Live Bankroll. So stay tuned for all of that. Otherwise, that wraps up Racing Across America for this morning. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you a little bit later this afternoon.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.
Today he's going to the front. Today he's wide.
And there was no way for Kendrick to know that the rail was really
I'm not being critical of Kendrick. I'm saying in retrospect, if Kendrick were to look at this, he would say, I have no criticism of Kendrick whatsoever. I think it was ridden tremendously. What I'm saying is, if he were to look at this in retrospect, he'd say, man, I should have been, just gunned and gotten the front.
Here's the one thing that worries me about that. Him and Perfect Banker tussled last time. Perfect Banker's inside of him again. Don't you think Perfect Banker's got to go again?
I think Kendrick's faster, and he would have been faster last time. We'll see what happens.
All right.
A lot of people like Tercero here, who I have fourth.
I have him third, but
I don't get it.
He's a long way back. Well, I mean,
he broke slow in his turf debut. I don't get this horse. He should have won last time.
Doesn't his turf figure stack up with these in the